I don't think I would be where I am today if I hadn't failed and hadn't succeeded. I think they all played a part. There's definitely been some really difficult times, but equally some incredible times. And I think all of these things combined just make up to the type of art director that I am today. I've been living abroad from Australia for about 15 years now. So I grew up in a small town about 2 hours south of Perth in Western Australia called Bunbury. I think the experience of growing up in a rural location, pretty large land to run around and do what you need, I wish everybody could have that kind of freedom as a kid. I think it makes you feel very creative, just running through the bush and creating all kinds of things out of sticks. And I think it just kind of works the mind so much more than maybe living in a city as a child. Memories of Australia is kind of a little love letter to Australia and my childhood and the kind of memories from those times. It's a collection of thoughts and smells and sounds. I did feel like I had to kind of, make it right, do it justice for quite a few people. So there was a little bit of pressure there. I've always kind of had a life of art in some way or another. Ever since I remember, I've always been doing art, drawing and painting and that kind of stuff. I've loved nature, I've loved traveling, and there's so many inspirations and locations around the world. I've been to Iceland and the Redwood Forest and these kind of places where there's just places that you just want to recreate in a digital space, and that's what I'd love to kind of get back to once I've been on those trips. Yeah, to be honest, I have no idea how I found the time to do something like this, but this was one particular thing where it's been kind of on the back of my mind that I've really been wanting to get to. Memories of Australia is definitely a project that has, my emotions on the sleeve type thing. It's clearly about nostalgia, and, you see the brothers in the canoe, and it's clear that there is some more to it than just showing the nature, and it's definitely intentional that it's like an emotional piece. I lost my brother some years ago, so this was definitely a part of that project to kind of get some of that feeling in there, some of the memories of us together, the things that we did. It's not something a lot of people know about, but it's always there, and it was nice to kind of bring a little bit of that piece of me out. The peaceful canoe rides, the sound of the birds just running through the bush. All these small moments that aren't really special in themselves, but altogether this feeling is just this great peaceful feeling of a childhood that I think I'm very lucky to have. I've been working mostly in proprietary engines in my career, so this was my first real dab at doing something large scale on my own at home with Unreal. Because I wanted to be able to tell a story and get emotion across, it was important that the camera work and those elements really were up front, more so than the actual content that's in there. So that was perfect for me to jump in and learn those tools. The best part for me was working with Sequencer. Animation as well was one area which I'd actually never touched before. Being a generalist, that was one of the only areas I've never really dabbled in before. So that was new for me, doing my first animation of the kookaburra and getting that in there and timing it with the sequencer and the sound. But all those things, it's so smooth to work with. A lot of people have reached out, other Australians who live overseas, or people's mothers, all kinds of people have just kind of reached out to say they get it, they feel that emotion coming through. So it's got the point across that it's not just about the game art, it's about the storytelling. I've been having these feelings and the need to do this. I just needed to find the right time and the motivation to do it, and it was so nice to kind of have that kind of come together. And the validation was, my wife put on the headphones and listened to it for the first time when it was all done, almost tearing up. So I think that was the perfect validation for me that I'd done the job.